Gladiators, legionaries, history, insane graphics, betrayal, and Rome. Everything that Ryse Son of Rome had to offer was heaven for any historical gaming fan, or at least many of us thought. In 2013, the fight for PS4 and Xbox One was raging across the world. Microsoft was sending more free consoles out to YouTubers than Jeffrey Epstein giving candy to children, but in both cases, they ended in disaster and a few lawsuits. Launch titles are one of the biggest causes for a console's success or failure, amongst many other things, but the cherry you put onto the top of that metaphorical console cake is what will make people buy it on their first outing. Ryse Son of Rome was supposed to be Xbox One's crown and glory, a way to push the graphical fidelity of the new system to another level never seen before. And well, at least they got that bit right. The game opens with the siege of Rome. Barbarians are attacking. The streets are alight as fireballs rain down from above. It's an incredible epic opening as you take to the streets as Marius, ordering troops, holding lines and chopping through wave after wave of endless brutes, using combos and the terrain around to murder in the most innovative ways. However, as fire arrows and turret sections with explosive barrels join in the fray, you start to get the hint that this might not be the game that you hoped, or at least that has any historical accuracy on its side.
Older man, okay, made it to old age. Old man, fat man.
I, Nero, Augustus, Germanicus.
Nero? What? No. Nero died at the age of 30. No, what? Those aren't rebels, those are barbarians. What? What?
Okay, look. It wasn't a great start for the title, and that was very much echoed in the initial reviews. Was it completely hated? No, it not quite. It was a decent to average game that kind of did what it needed to do, you know, showing off Xbox's new hardware and look beautiful, but many people had their criticisms, and some I would say rightly, others maybe not. The story is okay. Is it the masterpiece on a level of Breaking Bad? No, not quite. It's more like season 7 of Game of Thrones. It doesn't make that much sense. It leans way too much on fantasy and big action set pieces. There's a lack of great character moments, but people kind of still enjoyed the experience at the time. It tells the story of Marius, a legionary in the Roman army at the height of Rome's power. Well, at least before it was burned to the ground in this alternate reality. One of the most notable set pieces that really stuck in my mind was the beach landing in the second mission. It couldn't get much more Saving Private Ryan if it tried. It even had the slow-mos of friendlies dying surrounded with fire and hell, but I think we can kind of give it an excuse, since what game or TV set in a wartime during the 2000s didn't have a brutal beach landing inspired by Saving Private Ryan? Despite the fact that, especially in ancient times, these beach landings were very, very rare, at least opposed beach landings, but we'll leave that to the wayside. Regrouping with your soldiers, you had to dodge the falling napalm bombs from above and form into a shield wall, moving up and shifting into testudo as arrows scattered across the tops of your scutums, releasing a volley of peelum onto the unsuspecting barbarians atop the wooden barricades. Look, I know so many history buffs would think this is completely stupid, and you'd probably be right, but it's goddamn cool! After making the way up the beachfront, Marius would lead a group of soldiers to take back points on the wall and eventually the fortress itself. It would then lead on to Marius taking the forefront of the legion himself, finding kidnapped legionaries throughout the terrifying land of Britain. As the Roman legionary, Marius should be fighting against angry, bold, 50-year-old football fans who were only slightly racist through the streets of Grimsby. Oh, not that kind of Britain. Marius would be fighting through the woods and apparently jungles of ancient Britain as tribespeople and barbarians would try and stop him in any way possible. Most of the early game is set around these forests and up at Hadrian's Wall. The atmosphere is great, not only graphically but sound design wise, and the score is goddamn beautiful. Combat would give Marius the opportunity to show off some of his coolest WWE moves, and this is where the game got a lot of criticism at the time. It was very basic, and even on the hardest difficulty modes, it was pretty much a walk in the park for your average player. The fight was click, click, block, chop, execute, then repeat. Sometimes you could get some double executions, which were cool, and the animations gave an incredibly premium look at a man's neck being stabbed. Furthermore, performing these executions would give you XP or health boosts depending on the buffs that you put on. You could also unlock things like carry extra peelum or have more health, as you'd expect in this kind of game. Boss fights were fun, but even some of the hardest ones just involved rolling and stabbing. Not all that much going on there. But I think that's mainly down to the limitations of the combat mechanics rather than the actual bosses characters themselves. Later on, Marius would fight in the Colosseum because, of course, we couldn't play a game set in ancient Rome without pretending we were Maximus Decimus Dead Childimus Meridius Man. The Colosseum missions were incredibly visual, mixing and changing harder and harder enemies before the final boss battles, then fighting through the streets of Rome to finally reveal, spoiler alerts ahead, that the whole story was a flashback all along and you were the guy that was sent to kill the Emperor. I mean, it's fine. The campaign wasn't the only thing there though. There was some other elements, sort of an arena multiplayer, but as I didn't get the title on its first release, it was kind of dead by the time I got into the multiplayer, so I never really played it. But I heard it wasn't all that great anyway. There is a lot of criticisms and rightful criticisms to have about Ryse Son of Rome, but I still love the game. And this is why I think Ryse Son of Rome failed successfully. Do I sound like an idiot with that sentence? Quite possibly, but don't tell me if I do. But I think it kind of best describes this title. As the years have gone on, I've seen the reactions from many people every time I brought up this game, and they seem to be kind of positive. All I remember from the initial release is people slating Ryse Son of Rome, but now whenever I mention it, people are like, it was actually not that bad. It's a little bit like the Star Wars prequels. As years have gone on, so much nostalgia for Ryse Son of Rome has given it a stronger and stronger liking in the community. Is it a fantastic game? No. It's not even a great game, and even if we're solely speaking on mechanics and gameplay, I don't even think it's a good game, but I still love it. The combat makes it so easy, but that just gives me more time to look at the absolutely stunning scenery. The weapons and armor are complete fantasy and not even historically accurate, but that just gives me more time to look at the complete and utter creativity that's gone into their design. Historical accuracy for some games is incredibly important, but I don't always think it's paramount. A game inspired by a time period can still be enjoyable even if it doesn't recreate it step by step. I mean, look at the movie Northman. Is that historically accurate? Oh god. But is it cool? Yeah, but I think this is where all the initial backlash came from. I can see why people got angry at me, and part of me does still get a little bit annoyed by the game for not quite reaching the potential of an amazing historical title. Yet for some reason, I keep going back to it. And it's that word potential that I think is the most important here. That's what gave Ryse Son of Rome a bad name. It's so rare that we get a AAA historical title. Call of Duty just can't seem to do it right. Battlefield neither at this point in time. And most of the historical titles that are left are made by AA or indie studios, so they don't quite have the budget to push it to the furthest limits that people really want. So the fact that a launch title backed by Microsoft themselves was going to be part of this historical community that we all so much love got people so excited. And then it came out and it was a bit generic and a lot of people got pissed off, and I think that's the main thing that people were annoyed by. It had this potential to be a Kingdom Come Deliverance set in Rome, but it decided to go a different direction. A direction that I still enjoy as a game, but does feel a little bit like wasted potential. And it's a shame. We could have had the definitive Roman simulator here, with AAA graphics and mechanics, with the budget of Microsoft, and have this historical attention to detail that could have boosted this genre to another level, but we got a pretty fun, but quite generic Roman game. But hey, maybe there's still a chance for this in the future, because after all, Ryse Son of Rome does have a sequel in the works, and it could be here sooner than you might think.
Either way, I don't wanna be a part of it. Can I just get some space? I don't have the heart for this. I can't be picking up the pieces, fixing scars from this. Is this an argument, or just the start of it? I wanna drive away so I can be so far from it. I wanna find a place where no one breaks their promises, or maybe drown myself in something that is